Welcome to the Daily Influence, where our mission is to deliver a daily dose of positive influence that can uplift you personally or be shared within your sphere of influence. While not every episode may directly apply to your unique circumstances, we strive to provide insights and inspiration relevant to most people's daily, weekly, and monthly lives. Whether you are tuning in during the morning, noon, or night, the Daily Influence is here for you. Listen, share, and embrace the power of influence in your life.
Hi, welcome to another episode of the Daily Influence. We are so glad you have joined us today, and I'm very excited for Matthew Saleski to join us today and share his positive influence with us. Matthew, can you welcome to the show?
Thank you, Greg. It's such a pleasure to be here. I'm honored.
Well, we're honored to have you. Could you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. And again, I appreciate the time to come here, but I bill myself as a sales and marketing expert. I had a close to 8-year stint at LinkedIn, and now I'm doing what we call fractional marketing work with small clients. And essentially, at the end of the day, I'm a people person. I like to see people succeed, which is the subject of this call today. And I'm so excited to talk about it.
Well, I'm excited to hear about it. So we'll just jump right in. What inspired you to start spreading positivity and making a difference in the lives of others?
Well, I think before I even get to that question, I think one of the group of people that inspires me is administrative professionals, and today is their day. And I would argue that every day should be Administrative Professionals Day because they've certainly made my life easier, but they also make, businesses successful, and without them, we wouldn't be successful. And that whole positive mindset kind of builds into myself. Like, when I was a little kid, I invented this game for myself. I thought, if I could notice somebody having a bad day, if I could get a smile out of them or get a laugh, it would be amazing. I'm going to turn their day around, at least their day, their life around. I had this mindset, right? And I gave myself little points for each time. And what I've come to understand as an adult is maybe I gave them a little bit of positive energy, but I certainly got it myself. And I took away that. I know I always felt better when I had that kind of positive exchange.
Thank you for bringing that up. Happy Administrative Professionals Day to all the administrative professionals out there. I am an administrative type of person myself. I love the administrative professionals. So thank you. Every day, you're right, should be Administrative Professionals Day. And you started having that positive mindset, positive influence from a young child. That is very cool. I think as young children, a lot of people don't think that way, but I think it's something you're born with. And you can clearly see that you've been born with this, and it's just continued on throughout your entire life.
Thank you. I would like to think it's contagious too.
Can you share any specific strategies or initiatives that you've implemented to promote positivity and make a lasting impact on your personal or professional circles?
I appreciate that question because it makes me think back to some of the things I'm most proud of. And one of the things I'm most proud of is when I was at LinkedIn, I took on the role of global communications for one of our largest employee resource groups, ERGs. And when I first came to that group, the first thing I observed was the fact that we are doing a lot of talking to our members, maybe a little bit of listening and even less two-way communication. So I got inspired by what the company does and did with regular town hall meetings for all employees. And I thought, well, why don't we take that model and bring that forward to our members and constituents, right? And so the inaugural one, we started out, I put out a survey ahead of time. What do you guys want to hear about? And gosh, I started getting this amazing feedback. The engagement was through the roof, and we got so much that we decided to create a regular cadence of those two-way communications. And it became a kind of a energy unto itself. And I started sharing what I was doing with my counterparts who were also doing comms for other ERGs. And we started collaborating more and more. And that built out to the idea of, what if we built a cross ERG event that was all about training the rest of the company on the value of intersectionality, the idea of united we stand. And all of that work paid dividends, lasting dividends throughout the company.
Wow, that's amazing. It's like that ripple in the water, like when you throw a stone in and it just grows and grows and grows. you did that across the entire organization, which spread outside the organization as well. So that's an awesome thing to share. Thank you, and do.
Thank you. I'm most proud of the fact that I had individuals reaching out to me, telling me about how their experience was better.
How do you believe that acts of kindness, mentorship, or leadership can contribute to creating more positive and supportive communities or workplace environments?
Yeah, and it does. I mean, there's studies out there. McKinsey did a study, Millward Brown. There's numerous studies that actually show that there's financial gain to be had when you're focused on people, diversity, equity, inclusion, making sure that everybody has a fair. But I myself witnessed it with that effort that we did with my ERG. We saw an increase in engagement across every metric. We had a SharePoint site that we created. We had emails that we sent out. We suddenly were getting a lot more opens, a lot more reading, a lot more suggestions. Hey, can you put this topic on the next event? And then that cross ERG effort that I told you about with the focus on intersectionality that was global, that had different regions, et cetera. It was so successful that our own CMO made that mandatory training for her staff. And all of that work, yes, it inspires loyalty and I think love within the organization among each other, and people are a lot more understanding, and they start to really understand what it's like to be in the shoes of others and what they're experiencing. It also spills out to our customers and our partners. And they see us doing this. They want to start modeling what we were doing, and it's back to that ripple effect that you mentioned.
And what you mentioned, it's infectious.
Yes.
It's contagious.
Yes.
Right.
In a good way.
Yeah, in a good way. Exactly. I actually have a sign up there that says "Attitudes are contagious" is yours worth catching, and it's matches. The lower one is lit, and then you could see the other one starting to go. And this is the exact same thing, and in such a positive way. So that's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. How do you maintain your own sense of positivity and motivation, especially during challenging times or when you're faced with negativity?
Yeah, I think we can all go there, right, and have those experiences. And I think about it in three ways. It's about mindset, it's about the language, and ROI. And I promise you, I'll get there with ROI. ROI is a little bit like, huh? Mindset is what we were just talking about. I think it's really, really easy to go down a negative path. This happened and that happened, and assign some sort of correlation to all of that and think that you're just getting piled on. And I think now, especially what's happening in the job market, I myself have been without formal work for almost a year. It's really easy to start getting down on yourself and all that. And it's harder to frame things from the positive and start to recognize that, wow, maybe there's some sort of life lesson I'm supposed to be learning here, and take that and put that in a different way. And that kind of builds to the language part. Is, how we talk to others matters 100%, but how you talk to yourself matters. What you say to yourself. I mean, think about, we all know older people who always anytime you talk to them, they complain about this hurts and that hurts and that, or those other people who are all talking about like, well, I can't run anymore, but I'm walking every day. Like, we all know those kind of people, right? And who would you rather spend an afternoon with, right? And so that language all matters. I mean, even little things like positive language. I always like to frame things in the positive. A lot of people will say, don't forget to do something. I always say, remember to do something. It's that little turn of phrase, that positive thing. And when I say remember to do something, I never do forget it. I remember it, right? And it's about the value that language creates in us, right? And then the last point is, and on the ROI, is everything that I'm talking about, the mindset, yes, it takes work, and the language, the kindness to yourself, kindness to others. Kindness doesn't cost a thing. But the return on that effort, it comes back to you in ways that you can't even imagine. It comes back to you throughout your life too. If you can establish a foundation that way, it's amazing the way it comes back to you. And I do believe, and I've witnessed it myself and with others, that the karma that comes back tenfold.
I could not agree more. I love that. Your mindset is everything. right? Having a growth mindset, having a positive mindset. I myself went from a negative person to a positive person, and it's really what you tell yourself. You have to reframe everything. Your brain only knows what you tell it, right? So if you're constantly telling it negative things like, oh, I'm exhausted, I'm tired, my body aches, guess what? Your body's going to ache.
Yeah.
But if you tell yourself positive things like, I feel great today, my body feels great, you're going to feel great. It's mind over matter.
Yes. And also I'll give you one other tip. So this conversation we're having right now, this conversation is kind of like, can be a crutch. Some people are like, I don't know how to go about that. Start with a friend who's really positive. Talk with them and get them going with you. And I can feel just now, and here we're sitting here virtual. We've got this positive energy going on between us, and hopefully our listeners are getting a sense of that.
I agree 100%. And the first time that you and I met, and it was over Teams, I felt that positive energy from you, and I could get a high off of it, almost like I'm feeling the energy, and it's bringing my energy up, and it was put me in a really great mood. So you have that positive, infectious influence on me, for sure me, and I know so many others through the people that we met through in the organization that you're on the board for. So thank you for sharing that with me. If we have more people in this world like you, what a much better place this world would be. I think you should be a motivational speaker.
That's very, very kind. That would be certainly a dream job. But I know there are people out there that will listen like, oh, that sounds so hokey and so new agey and everything like that. And it is what you make of it. And I would just challenge somebody, like, you don't believe it, try it. Give it a week. Give it a week. You'd be amazed.
Yeah, 100% agree. Absolutely. It's not woo-woo. It's legit. What messages or words of encouragement would you like to share with our listeners? You've shared so many already, but what about those who aspire to make a positive difference in the world?
Well, I think the first thing is, and it's an analogy that our CRO at LinkedIn, who our former CRO used to talk about, is like in your job, and I think this applies to life too, is like, make sure that you're good, you're solid. Shore yourself up first, and then think about the people around you, right? Make sure that they're better, and then lastly is think about, are you making an overall impact? I think if you kind of follow those steps, and the first order is yourself. Always put your oxygen mask on first before you can help anybody else. You gotta get your frame of mind right. And again, I promise everybody that it's hard to do it first, but if you can stick to it and continue to challenge yourself, like working out, you're going to get better and it's going to get easier.
It's like BJ Fogg, the professor at Stanford, says with tiny habits, floss one tooth at a time. You start flossing that one tooth, you start flossing more and more. So it's all about those tiny habits. And if you could start small, it will build.
Absolutely. And also, you just made me think of one other thing too, is bite sizes, like you just said. Chunk it down into bite sizes. And there's a reason why people in Alcoholics Anonymous talk about, one day at a time. It's like, that's the same idea, is focus on the here and now and the present. And you'll find a lot of value in that.
100%. It will also reduce a lot of anxiety if you focus on the present versus the future.
Right.
So if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
Well, I'm a LinkedIn guy. I always will bleed blue, so to speak. So that's the best way to find me on LinkedIn. I do have a Calendly link on there. I can't really pronounce that word, but I have a link on there where people get, if they want to book time with me or just send me a note. More than happy to take time to talk to people.
Thank you, Matthew, for joining us and sharing these amazing, positive, influential words with us and your energy. For those of you who are listening, I'm sure you could feel it coming through the speakers, and those of you who are watching, you can definitely feel it. We hope you all have an amazing, positive day. Thank you for joining us for another edition of Daily Influence. If you are interested in being on our podcast, reach out to us. We would love to have you. Hope you have a positive day.